Sunday. I thought I'd bring in one of our most learned voices, someone we trust a lot when we're trying to make sense of the chaos in Washington in the Marble Asylum. He's a member of the House Intelligence Committee. He's one of its most important voices, Congressman Austin Scott from the great state of Georgia. Congressman, good to have you back on the show.
Hey, thanks, John. Good to be here.
There's a lot of places we can go today. I want to start with the border. I think there are two big events today. First up, the impeachment vote on the House floor tonight around 6 o'clock. We should know the fate of Alejandro Mayorkas. How are you going to vote, and what do you think the likely outcome is?
Oh, I'm going to vote to impeach him. I mean, this guy is a liability to our country. And I would just remind people, go back to 2021 when there were the pictures of our agents that are out there on horseback doing their job to protect this country. And there was a photograph that didn't tell the whole story, and then Mayorkas, and the Biden administration, just keeping up their narrative, accused those agents of whipping people with the reins of the horses. And even the photographer said it wasn't true. And they still, railroaded those agents. I mean, the person who took the picture said that the narrative about our Border Patrol agents was false, and the Biden administration just kept it up, and Mayorkas was obviously a big part of that. He should have apologized to those agents, and to this day, I don't think they've gotten their back pay.
Yeah, no, I think that's right.
The people that are out there trying to protect America, doing the best they can in very tough circumstances, are paying the price. And, Mayorkas is sitting up there not doing his job. And so I'm looking forward to casting this vote.
Yeah, there is so much at stake. Do you have a sense of which way it will go? It seems like it's razor close, right, in terms of votes?
Yeah, it is. John, we've got on any given day, a 1 vote or a 2 vote margin. And then if you look at the number of airports that were closed in California, I don't know that we actually have a real good count of who's actually in D.C. and not in D.C. right now. So I'm sure that we're missing some of the people from the West Coast, and they're back there in their districts. And I don't criticize them for being in their districts with everything that's happened there. I don't know. I don't know who's got the most people here right now. And this is, again, this is what it looks like with a 2-seat margin. And so we've got to come back with a bigger margin next year, or we're going to stay in the same spot of limbo.
Yeah. If it were to fail, is there still an important message that so many people in Congress voted for it?
I think it is. I think it is important for a couple of things. One is, I think it's important that the people that are actually down there doing their best to secure our border know that we're upset about what's going on down there. I think it matters, and I wish we were actually talking more about the treatment of the agents than we are. And I've been in those facilities, John, and what you got to remember, there are a lot of people that are coming in here that are pregnant. I mean, and when they have that child on U.S. soil, I mean, that's their goal with coming across that border when they're pregnant. And it is this madness has got to stop. And it's not people just from the Western Hemisphere. I saw a lot of pregnant women in there from Asia, from China, in different places the last time I was in one of the facilities. And it's just baffling to me that over 6 million people have been allowed into this country in the last 3 years, not knowing who they are, and all the president has to do is to put Remain in Mexico back in place, and he could stop at least 70% of it.
Yeah, no, it's pretty remarkable, isn't it? It is, and the most inhumane way to come into this country. This isn't the Ellis Island trip. It's the drug cartel escort trip, which comes with rape and extortion and indentured servitude. It is remarkable. I want to flip to something because you pointed out that over the last 3 years, there's at least 6 million illegals that have made it into the country. That averages about 2 million a year. The Senate bill that Langford put together this weekend would keep the number almost at that level. About 1.8 million would be considered below the threshold of an automatic emergency that would give the president the ability to stop or to close the border or at least stop accepting asylum entrants. Are you shocked that Senate Republicans with something with that high a threshold?
Well, full disclosure, I, like most members, have not had an opportunity to read the bill yet. So the reason Chuck Schumer is trying to force the vote very fast is he doesn't want people to have time to read the bill. So I haven't read it. And I'm interested in seeing, what Senate Republicans do. I mean, as I understand it, I don't think Schumer's got the vote for closure because of the gamesmanship that I'm talking about. I mean, the language was kept tight, and now they release it Sunday. Well, here we are less than 48 hours later, and he's wanting to have the closure vote when he knows that people have not had the opportunity to read the 300 plus pages of text. And while it's 300 plus pages of text, you've got to look forward. Sometimes you'll read a paragraph and it references another paragraph somewhere, and it's not just like reading a 300-page book. You have to actually understand the laws that are being referenced when you're in there. Again,
designed to be exactly the opposite of a book. Hard to really understand what they're referring to.
That's right. But I do want to say, look, James Langford is a great man. I don't know. I haven't read the whole text. I do know that we have to stop the illegal immigration coming into this country, and it is intentional. You can go back and look at the back and forth between Mike Johnson and then Chairman of the House Judiciary Committee, Jerry Nadler, when Mike says they're wanting them to vote, and then Jerry's like, they're not allowed to vote. They're only allowed to vote in municipal elections. And right now, we have cities inside the United States, these sanctuary cities, that are letting people who are not United States citizens vote. And that's their intent, is to continue to expand their rights at the expense of the rights that we have as citizens of the United States of America.
Yeah. The stakes are so very high right now. I want to turn to the world stage. You have one of the keenest eyes when it comes to what's really going on in the world, what our enemies are doing, what our allies are expecting of us. You look at the Middle East, and from the Red Sea, where now the shipping channels are in grave danger of being shut or certainly shuttered or slowed because of concern of security, to the constant attacks that our troops are facing in Iraq and Syria. What is your assessment of the stability of the region, and are we near a regional conflict, a full regional conflict, I should say?
So there is a tremendous amount of instability. I do not think that we are headed towards a regional war. This is the next statement I'm going to make is going to surprise you and some of your listeners. But the strikes that were carried out over the last couple of days from U.S. forces against Iranian-backed militias, I think were good targets. I think they were well executed, and I commend the people at the Defense Department, and I commend the President for authorizing it. What I don't understand is why we didn't carry out these strikes in October of last year. Why did we wait until now? And so, I don't believe that they just developed those targets over the last couple of weeks. I think we've known where we could hit. I think that we have to be very careful with our troops that are still stationed in that region, especially the ones that are in Syria, who are doing a tremendous amount of work. And I think that we need to be very vigilant in making sure that we have resources very close to any of our people that are out there at any of our forward operating bases or whatever type of base we have, so that we can get to them very quick and provide them support if they come under attack.
Yeah, that is the danger, is the counterattacks that may come in the future, right? And do you have confidence in what you've seen over the last few weeks that Lloyd Austin and his military commanders around him have the ability to react quickly should we come under a better attack? It seems like we've been a little caught off guard by the first attacks. What's your assessment of our ability to respond next time?
I do not think that the problem rests in the Pentagon. I think the problem rests in the White House. So, I mean, Lloyd Austin was a four-star general before he became the Secretary of Defense. He spent a lot of time in that part of the world. I trust the lead of Central Command. I trust our military leaders. What I don't trust is, the Secretary of State and the White House to react in a timely manner. And so again, the strikes that have been carried out this past week, I think they were good targets. I think they were carried out effectively. I do not think that our strikes need to be what is referred to as proportional. I think that I want the strikes to be disproportionate. In other words, I want to do more damage to them than they do to us, and it can't be tit for tat. So I trust our Defense Department and our military. What I do not trust is the decision making at the White House and the Secretary of State's level.
Yeah, and you've been pretty vocal, and I think have enormous support in Congress, including Democrats, that the responses were too slow and delayed to be truly deterrent. Right, that was been one of the problems here. Very, very slow responses.
Correct. Absolutely. Most of the Democrats that I serve with, I don't want to speak for them, but certainly some of them you have seen have been vocal about the fact that these responses have been delayed too far.
Yeah, I think that's right. What's Iran's short-term objective here? Obviously, they're rattling their swords rhetorically a lot more. They clearly funded all of these attacks. I think the vehicle that was used to attack our troops a weekend ago was Iranian-made. What is their short-term objective here? Long-term, we know the jihad against the United States, but what are they trying to accomplish right now in your assessment?
Well, I mean, they hate Israel. I mean, obviously, one of their stated goals is to eliminate Israel. And then, anybody who is aligned with, protects or defends or respects Israel's rights to defend themselves, they consider an enemy. And so if you look at the destabilizing factors around the world, you've got basically Iran and China and Russia. And, those three countries benefit from the instability while the majority of the world, benefits from stability. And so if you pick up a map, look at where Iran is, and look at the damage that they do to instability in Iraq and in Syria. And so if you look at the instability in that part of the world, a tremendous amount of it is because of Iran.
Yeah, there's no doubt about it. They are the instigator. It was a year ago, I think, probably maybe 6 months, a year ago, when you first came on our show and talked about the concerns you had about these young military-aged Chinese men crossing the border. Since that time, the rest of the world has caught up to you, but you were really one of the first people, I think, to sound the alert on this. Given that there's tens of thousands of people now over the last couple of years, all these military-aged men, is there any better assessment of what these people are doing in the country, why they were sent here, how they got in? Is there any idea what China's intention is with this?
No. I mean, we know how they got in. I mean, you can get a 10-day travel visa from China into Mexico, and then, you simply, pay the cartels to bring you into the country. And so it is, I mean, you've got the military-aged men, and then, you've obviously got the human trafficking where they're bringing in, children that are basically being sex trafficked in the United States. And it's not just, it's not just from China. It's from, the Middle East. And to be honest, when we talk about China, John, I worry more about cyber and those types of attacks inside the United States on our infrastructure. And when we talk about, kind of the lone wolf style of terrorism, certainly they do have the ability to pull that off. Anyone who's in here has the ability to pull that off. But I worry more about, the people coming from the Middle East doing that than I do Asia.
Yeah. That seems right in all the assessments I've heard from folks too. Last part, Ukraine, Russia. It seems as though the war slogs on there. Any sense of whether either side is making progress or whether either side is signaling that maybe they're open to a real peace agreement?
Well, I mean, I'll tell you, Ukraine has been able to hold their ground because we've been able to get them the weapon systems. I support us continuing to get the Ukrainians the weapons that they need. If there is going to be any type of negotiated settlement, then everybody except for Russia is better off with the Ukrainians having the weapons that they need to fight. And so it's important to me. I think it's important to the United States. It's important to our role as the most important country in the world that we work to continue to give the Ukrainians the weapons that they need, the 155, the ability to defend themselves from attacks from Russian air assets. So I 100% want to see the Ukrainians get the weapons that they need. If they're not able to get the weapons that they need, then a negotiated settlement looks very different. It looks more like Russia conquering a country if they don't have, again, the ammunition and the mortars and the rockets that they need to defend themselves from Russia. And so the best way to get to some type of negotiated settlement is to give the Ukrainians the ability to fight.
Yeah, there's no doubt about it. That is definitely, and with our investment thus far, we don't want to abandon all the progress we've made thus far or all the efforts that we've made thus far. Last question, because people always remember this from our early conversations of the food supply chain. I think you've done more than anyone to help educate the entire public and the Congress and maybe the administration, though they sometimes seem hard to educate, about the insecurity in our food system worldwide and even in our own country. Have you seen any progress? Can you give us an update of your assessment of how we stand, particularly as it relates to America?
Hey, so again, let's remember, when Tommy Tuberville talked about Ukraine, he said, hey, this is about food. Well, and the left made fun of him. Well, he's absolutely correct. I mean, if Russia controls the Black Sea, they control the flow of millions and millions of tons, metric tons of wheat and corn and sunflower oil and seed and fertilizer. And so Russia wants to control the Black Sea, and that will give them control over significant portions of the global food supply. And that's one of the reasons that this fight is so important, to not let them have control of that port of Odessa and the Black Sea. And so I do think there is a recognition inside the United States. I met with some of the people in the chemical business here. So there's a recognition from members, there's a recognition from industry, there's a recognition from a lot of people that we need to bring this stuff back home. I do not think there is a recognition from the courts, where NGOs are continuing to sue to take chemicals off the market that we need. You've got an EPA that is refusing to approve new chemicals to take the place. I mean, look, if we don't have pesticides and herbicides, we can't grow food in the United States of America. And so we need the EPA to start approving some of these new chemicals. It's
a real choke point, isn't it, right now, for what our farmers and our food supply chain needs?
And Americans haven't seen the impact yet.
They haven't. That's it, right? It's over the horizon, though, isn't it?
It is. I mean, they've seen the impact when they go to the grocery store and they see how much more food costs, but the correlation is not there yet for the American consumer, that the attacks on the American farmer and taking away pesticides and herbicides and the increased cost of fuel and the increased cost of fertilizer and other inputs like seed, the correlation is not registering with the American citizens when they're shopping at the grocery store.
Yeah, and the danger is they'll wake up one day and it'll be too late. It'll really have happened. That's why the alarm that you've raised has been so important for this country. Congressman, it's always a great honor to have you on the show. We always learn a lot. We always get good measured facts, and that's something we greatly appreciate. Thanks for your time today.
Hey, thank you.